Judges had to be admitted into hospital because of the stress caused. Some of the judges feared for their security and sought additional protection for their homes. It was a mistake in this case for the investigation to ever be handed over to the government in the first place. As per the Pakistan Commission of Inquiry Act, the government determines the constitution of the commission, the government determines the scope of inquiry as well as the terms of reference of the commission. Chief Justice CJP Jillani recused himself from heading this commission and has gone so far as to say that it would be violative of judicial propriety for him to act when jurisdiction vests with another constitutional body. 6 judges of the Islamabad High Court have written a letter to members of the Supreme Judicial Council. There are 2 main aspects of this letter. The first aspect relates to an inquiry into whether there's a continuing policy on part of the executive implemented through the intelligence agencies to intimidate judges and try and influence judicial outcomes. In the letter, the Islamabad High Court judges have given a detailed account of how considerable pressure has been placed on them. Family members of judges have been abducted by armed men, as per the letter, who claim to be operatives of the intelligence agencies. Judges had to be admitted into hospital because of the stress caused. Some of the judges feared for their security and sought additional protection for their homes. The matters which have been raised by the 6 Islamabad High Court judges strike at the heart of judicial independence and the ability of the judiciary to dispense justice without fear and without favor. The judiciary is the custodian of the fundamental rights which are guaranteed under the Constitution, and if judges cannot dispense justice without fear and without favor, it impacts their ability to uphold fundamental rights. The first aspect of the letter therefore relates to an inquiry into the allegations as well as accountability of those who are found to be involved in such actions. The second aspect of the letter relates to the fact that the Code of Conduct for judges does not prescribe how they are to respond to or react when they are approached by the executive or intimidated by members of the executive. It calls for a judicial convention and an institutional consultation to determine how judges should respond and the course of action that judges should adopt when they are on the receiving end of interference, coercion, intimidation by the executive. Initially, the government appointed a commission under the Pakistan Commission of Inquiry Act, which was to be headed by former Chief Justice CJP Jillani. He has since recused himself from heading this commission and has gone so far as to say that it would be violative of judicial propriety for him to act when jurisdiction vests with another constitutional body, in this case the Supreme Court of Pakistan or the Supreme Judicial Council. And it was a mistake in this case for the investigation to ever be handed over to the government in the first place. As per the Pakistan Commission of Inquiry Act, the government determines the constitution of the commission, the government determines the scope of inquiry as well as the terms of reference of the commission, the government determines whether any aspect of the report is to be kept private if the commission recommends that a part of the report should not be made public, and the government determines what to do with any findings which have been given by a commission, and ultimately the government may decide that nothing is required to be done. This is a case where the executive is the accused, and a process which gives the executive considerable power, discretion and authority should not have been adopted because it compromises any aspect of an independent inquiry. The Supreme Court has now taken notice under Article 184(3) of the Constitution, and this is the correct approach to take, and this case will ultimately revolve around accountability of those involved as well as a mechanism for the way forward. During today's hearing, Justice Mansoor Ali Shah and Justice Athar Manila both said that the judiciary cannot close its eyes to this matter and they cannot bury their head in the sand. Justice Athar Manila went so far as to say that let us not pretend that nothing is happening. Now that the matter has reached the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court has taken notice of it, it is hoped that it reaches its logical conclusion both with regards to accountability as well as with regards to a mechanism for the way forward.